possibility of that. And we're going to get things kicked off here. Urshifu and Incineroar for Mattie coming out. Dondozo and Chi Yu coming out for Marcus.
There's double fish versus the double, I don't know, posy bipedal Pokemon. There's a thing here, there's a theme. So, going into this turn, Dondozo is obviously on the field, which means if Chi Yu can switch out into Tatsugiri, suddenly the Chi Yu is, one, very safe, and two, attacks into that slot do absolutely nothing. So Mattie has to really think about that if he wants to try and target down this Chi Yu, that it could just completely gone, and nothing can come into its place either.
With the Dondozo there with a Rocky Helmet, this Focus Sash Urshifu has got to be really careful about when and how to target down this Dondozo before an item gets knocked off. So there's a Tatsugiri coming in, Marcus committing to that turn one, but also just showing that the Chi Yu is in the back, maybe signaling to Mattie, hey, hang on a second, maybe I can't just go a little bit fast and aggressive with the Urshifu, because later I might need it to be able to deal with that Chi Yu in the back.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ben, honestly. So we'll see how Mattie actually targets this turn, but a fake out is fairly safe. Yeah, there we go, into the Dondozo. Don't lose too much other than a little bit of chip from that Pokemon, and maybe we'll see a target into that Chi Yu to be safe as well. Yes, there's that Surging Strike. So the question is now, this turn, though, can the Dondozo start doing Dondozo stuff?
I think it probably can. Overall, it's in a really good position to be able to do that. I mean, there is obviously the opportunity for this Assault Vest Incineroar to be able to knock off that Rocky Helmet. So Mattie, seeing that the Chi Yu is in the back, seeing that there's a Rocky Helmet Dondozo in front of him, brings the Urshifu back, maintaining that Focus Sash, now has the opportunity for the Incineroar to go for its Terra Grass. A great defensive call in front of Wave Crash and Earth Power onto the Dondozo and give an opportunity to knock off that Rocky Helmet.
First order up, though, potentially calling that Terra, or at least covering for it anyway, and making use of the ability to raise its attack stat. U-turn coming out, though, first. No knockoff yet, actually. And so Incineroar is still going to take some more damage, and it's going to go back out. But crucially, because it's Oblivious Dondozo, you can't just bring it in and intimidate it again. It's still going to be piling out those huge damaging attacks.
Well, this is the strategy for Mattie. Get the Porygon 2 in, raise its special attack, which will be effective against this Dondozo as opposed to its unaware counterparts. But then, in combination with the Amoonguss, go for a Trick Room and force Marcus to start thinking, well, do I need to go for Terra Grass on my Dondozo to avoid the sleep, or am I happy to actually just have my Dondozo not be weak to an Ice Beam from that Porygon 2 and then still be able to try to sort of muscle through the sleep turns?
Well, it looks like Mattie's made a really good call here to put the fish to sleep. And even at +3 attack on this Dondozo, Porygon 2 takes that incredibly well. Barely doing 30% there is pretty impressive, as now Trick Room goes up right in front of a Dondozo that's already very speedy.
And now this Dondozo is going to have its guaranteed turn of sleep. So this is the turn that Mattie really gets to pile in the damage into the Dondozo, set things up for a little bit later. You can see that Sludge Bomb doing pretty okay damage overall, but it's this Terra Blast is where it's going to be at. Mattie's realized that actually Marcus is quite happy to sit in front of an Amoonguss and go to sleep, instead just wanting to maintain or not get hit by any super effective moves. So Mattie switches it up to Terra Blast.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. You just want to start whittling away at this Dondozo, which does not have leftovers to be able to recover off that damage. So, again, consistent damage from Sludge Bomb Amoonguss. We've seen it time and time again across this weekend. And another Terra Blast getting that Dondozo really low now. And yeah, a second turn of sleep for Dondozo, which is not what Marcus wants to see.
So it's not guaranteed this turn that this Dondozo is going to wake up. And so Marcus can't really do anything about it either. You can click in the Protect to try to waste another turn of Trick Room, but there's another turn of Trick Room after that. So either your Dondozo is not waking up this turn and is going down to the combination of moves, but in this position, I don't really mind that for Marcus too much, because the Sludge Bomb is going to go first on Mattie's side, not pick up the KO on the Dondozo, and then it's going to be the Terra Blast that has to finish it off.
Okay, yeah, good call, Ben, because that was a close one, though, so fair enough. Dondozo going down now to that double up. But yeah, keeping, as you said, Ben, the Tatsugiri fairly safe now that it's back on the field here. So, but in the Trick Room, though, do you want Fluttermane and Chi Yu right now?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no overall, but there is only one turn of Trick Room remaining, and so Chi Yu does have the ability to protect. Actually, the Tatsugiri's not in a horrible spot in terms of trying to go on a little bit of offense, but equally, it's not going to be able to do too much damage to the Amoonguss nor the Porygon 2 without committing a Draco Meteor, and that's going to make it a little bit questionable for later on in the match. So Marcus hasn't managed to do enough, I don't think, in this match so far with the Dondozo to carve out an overall advantage. And I think that's what Mattie's done really well, using all of those resources to knock out the Dondozo.
Yeah, it was a really well-played positioning, wasn't it? And really not sacrificing a lot either. Incineroar very healthy, Urshifu obviously at full health as well. And now Mattie is to go forward now and deal with his Chi-Yu, though, which is threatening a lot of damage, but can protect, crucially, because it's the Focus Sash set from that potential Spore that could come out. But otherwise, it could still take the Sleep Turn here from a Spore, and given its naturally good special defense, still take on the attacks from this Porygon 2, and that frees up this Tatsugiri to start spreading that Muddy Water.
Okay, so Protect on the Chi-Yu, not going to be taking any damage, not going to be going to sleep this turn either. Wouldn't be surprised to see Porygon 2 just going, on the defensive with a recover, making sure it's as healthy as possible for when the Trick Room expires at the end of this turn. Muddy Water is going to miss the Amoonguss, but that I don't think is the target of choice. You definitely, if you're Marcus, want to get more damage on the Porygon 2, so a combination of Heat Wave and Muddy Water, or even Draco Meteor, might be able to, with the Beads of Ruin, knock out that Porygon 2.
That's true, but then you've got the Amoonguss that can, of course, redirect away Chi-Yu attacks, but not Tatsugiri's attacks because of the safety goggles. So yeah, as you say, a spread move plus Draco Meteor might just be enough, thanks to the Beads of Ruin, to actually KO this Porygon 2, which cannot Terra either defensively either. And it's a big threat too that you definitely want to get out of the way, and Chi-Yu has the ability to do it, but it may have to take a nap in return.
Not this turn, because the Amoonguss is going to protect itself. So, it's the call! The overheat on the Porygon 2, that with a Muddy Water or a Draco Meteor would be enough to pick up the KO. Here's the Muddy Water, not very accurate. Well, quite accurate, but known for missing, but it's going to connect this time. Porygon 2 goes down, but what a call on the overheat.
A really good call, though. But Mattie has still a lot of pieces available. And the crucial thing about that is, if you are committing overheat, then you're committing overheat, because then you will lower your special attack, and now Amoonguss is actually safer going into the next turn here from the fire moves from Chi-Yu.
But all Chi-Yu needs to do in this situation is break the Focus Sash on the Urshifu to allow Tatsugiri to be able to drop a Draco Meteor. Now, it does depend on the speed interactions between the Tatsugiri and the Urshifu. Depending on their training, it could be the Tatsugiri that's the faster, but on safety goggle sets, they tend to be just that little bit slower. And that's a Focus Sash Urshifu on Mattie's side, so usually trained, as you said earlier, to be that little bit faster and more offensive. So a close combat could just knock out the Tatsugiri this turn before it even gets a chance to Draco Meteor.
It's just going to be a second overheat, though. Oh my goodness, that does a lot of damage for something at -2 special attack. But close combat first, there's that Urshifu going first. Tatsugiri just about surviving. 7 HP there. Marcus looking confident, though. Maybe he knew that it would survive anyway. Muddy Water, though, is double connecting there. Really popping off his Marcus as it does over half damage to Urshifu and crucially getting a knockout on that pesky Amoonguss.
Wow, that is absolutely influential, because now the Focus Sash is broken on Mattie's Urshifu. This Incineroar does not have a great deal of HP left. Now, the Chi-Yu, you may argue, is not going to be doing much damage at 4 stages of decreased special attack. However, there is a Flutter Mane that we know is in the back, but a 4th Pokemon that's in the back that Chi-Yu can switch out to. I think the question is how does Marcus want to manage this endgame, and how do you manage those chances to miss with your Pokemon? Because that can be really, really impactful for this endgame. But wow, look at what has been locked in here.
Here comes a terrible. Just have to see, Ben.
I'm excited.
Just hold yourself there.
I can't hold it.
Hold it in, Ben. Here's Terra Ghost on the Chi-Yu. We're just going for another attack. Yet again, Marcus doesn't care about stat drops. It is the Protect on Tatsugiri just to start things out. But of course, the Chi-Yu is the next thing that is the fastest here. And it is going to avoid the fake out thanks to the Terra Ghost on either of those targets. So keeping it safe as well. But here's that Chi-Yu. A 3rd overheat into the Terra Grass Incineroar, which is of course get the KO, because nothing can stop this lava fish.
Wow, that is such a great... I've never seen a Chi-Yu overheat 3 times in a row to good effect to be able to actually take KOs turn after turn. Here's the Surging Strikes, though, going into the Chi-Yu. Its Focus Sash is not trained in its defenses. Terra or no, it's going to be going back to Marcus, but we know that Flutter Mane is waiting in the wings.
It certainly is, yeah. Mattie needs to hope it's something else completely different entirely. Maybe a Magikarp would save Mattie at this point, but oh no, so close. It is, unfortunately, that Fluttermane in the back, which is most likely going to be outspeeding a lot of the threats here, especially given the booster energy is going to be raising the speed of that Fluttermane as well.
I think you've got to call out the choice of move order here that has led up to this situation. Committing the overheat into the Porygon 2 to make sure that it went down, and the Muddy Water on the Tatsugiri to not have its special attack dropped, but then being able to switch it up and go straight on the offensive with the overheat again afterwards, after the Amoonguss protected itself before, when there's a Terra Grass Incineroar in the back. Just an absolute masterclass in how to form an endgame in your favor, when actually the Dondozo Tatsugiri combination did not do too much in the early game. These 3 Pokemon had to bring it back.
Yeah, it was just Tatsugiri waiting to come back out again and do what it needed to do, really.
God's sake, Dondozo. Come on, step aside, let me do it.
Aquajet is not going to do anywhere near enough to this Fluttermane as Moonblast now gets that final KO on the Urshifu. And Marcus Ko is up 1 game in this best-of-3 set and 1 away from entering our final.
This could be Marcus's tournament. He is 1 step closer to making it to be our first finalist here in Birmingham. But let's not count Mattie out just yet. Mattie learned a lot of valuable information, I'm sure, from the way that interaction went through that game 1. Not least, just the amount, or just the way that Marcus was going to be approaching that matchup. And Mattie's such an experienced player. He's been playing a long time. He's been at the top level for a long, long time. And he will know what he needs to do to adapt in this game too.
But do you, Ben, and do I? What does he need to do? That is the question.
It's tough. I think the Urshifu was actually the problem piece overall for Mattie. It wasn't able to get that much value out of the Surging Strikes in the close combat, not one-hit KOing the Tatsugiri on Marcus's side. I think that's something that Mattie was kind of banking on in that end game, and learning that it at least doesn't always means that Mattie, I think, has to go back to the drawing board on whether that Urshifu is actually really bringing the value that he wanted.
That's a good point, actually. Like, even if it's an Urshifu, is it actually doing the business, right? Especially versus a Dondozo that's Rocky Helmet, as you said, and you don't want to be bringing it into that unless you're knocking off the Dondozo first. In theory, Dondozo was dispatched off fairly swiftly, to be honest. And so, as you said, you need to worry about everything else that's going on. The Chi-Yu specifically, which in theory, Urshifu has a terrific matchup into.
Right, so the combination of Amoonguss Incineroar and Porygon 2 do beat the Dondozo overall, but that means that you can't take your speed control in Fluttermane, your positive speed control in Fluttermane, alongside the Urshifu. And so that end game where you're against Chi-Yu, that's a little bit faster, the Fluttermane that's booster speed on Marcus's side, you can't take advantage of that with the Urshifu. You can just get outsped and get it knocked out.
We're heading into this game 2 here. Marcus, 1 game away from getting into the final here, and it's gonna be Chi-Yu paired with, instead, there's a little smaller fish actually in the Tatsugiri, and Mattie with the Incineroar and that Porygon 2 here, which should be getting a physical attack boost given the stats of the opposing Pokemon in front of it. Now,
this is something that Marcus did in his last stream match against Nils. Most players that are playing Dondozo Tatsugiri think of the Dondozo as the core piece of the puzzle, but actually Tatsugiri is a Pokemon as well. And Marcus, in that match, also led Tatsugiri rather than leading the Dondozo, having the Tatsugiri ready to switch in. And this switch up puts so much more pressure onto that Incineroar on turn 1, especially with the Terra Ghost on that Chi-Yu.
Yeah, really well identified, actually. And now Marcus has to think about whether to get Dondozo in immediately. But here we go, just hitting the overheat button, doing over 50%.
Is this a Draco?
If it's a Draco, then this might indeed KO.
Draco!
Yes, it is.
Draco!
What a call!
Whoa!
Straight down, turn 1. All this little duck has done is sit there on the field for 1 turn, not even 30 seconds, and it's down. U-turn coming out from the Incineroar, repivoting, but Mattie just lost a big piece.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a call there from Marcus. Not going for Terra Ghost, not doing anything, just saying, hey, do you know what? Overheat, Draco Meteor, that's enough to get the job done against this sitting duck in Porygon 2. Now Floodmane comes out for Mattie, and Mattie gets a chance to maybe bring in that Incineroar again to offer another go round the fake-out merry-go-round. But, wow, this is so impactful, because if Dondozo is in the back for Marcus, without the Porygon 2 there, without the speed control, this Dondozo gets an opportunity to maybe even just go Terra Grass, resist the Amoonguss overall, and just to be able to smash their way, really, through the rest of Mattie's team.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. There isn't a lot stopping it once that's in position here. So, but does Marcus want to kind of free switch it in right now? No, probably not. You've already got such a big lead right now. You want to kind of still dish out damage and still pressure Mattie into not playing, like, or trying to set up in any sort of way, and then allow your Dondozo to come in a little bit more safely so that you can then go for the Terra Grass once you're on the field.
One of the downsides to having Tatsugiri on the field is if you switch in the Dondozo and they combine, you just lose the Tatsugiri turn overall, and the Dondozo has to take damage at its cost. So now Floodmane getting that Chi-Yu knocked out means that Marcus doesn't have to actively switch into the Dondozo. If it is in the back, it can come in right now.
Yeah, excellent point there, Ben. So this is exactly the position that Marcus wants. Even though he's just lost a Pokemon, this is the position you need. Yeah, Porygon 2 being out of the way is really nice, so that you can actually just outspeed everything that you need to, really. And because this Floodmane is that booster energy, it's not like a focus sash or anything. It might just go down to a wave crash here, depending on the amount of bulk in it. We've seen that these really bulky Floodmanes going around, but given the fact it's got substitute, I wonder if it's a little bit more on the fast and speedy or offensive sort of side instead. May even drop to an Earthquake, we'll just have to see. But Marcus smartly taking his time now to really think this turn through.
Well, given that it's a Terra Water, you don't necessarily want to go straight on the offensive with a Wave Crash. So I really like the Earthquake call out there, because it's also doing damage to the Amoonguss. It's also pressuring the Incineroar on the switch-in, which can't even intimidate the Dondozo in this spot to stop that Earthquake doing as much damage. But it means that Marcus doesn't have to play that guessing game as, do I go for a water move into the Terra Water, or do I go into a fairy move into the non-Terra Water Floodmane in this spot? Actually, just having that consistent damage might be the biggest advantage that Marcus has.
Yeah, I like that, Ben. And interestingly, yeah, I think Terra Grass obviously is very safe at the moment, because you don't necessarily want to put people to sleep immediately here. You can just Earthquake. But it looks like Marcus is like not going for the Terra here. I'm very nervous for him now, actually. From his perspective, I feel like, you know, it feels like a little bit like it's me playing, you know, when it's this player here, you know. But anyway, I'm sure Marcus knows what he's doing, but Mattie needs to be thinking about how to deal the damage into this Dondozo, which is otherwise just going to be so bulky, and needs to call whether Marcus is going to go for the Terra or not.
Oh, this is it. If Mattie predicts that the Terra is going down, then you Sludge Bomb, get a super effective thing, maybe try to pick up a Poison, but now Dondozo going for the Wave Crash into the Amoonguss, trying to get some of that damage down. Ooh. Mattie calls it. It's the Spore going down into this Dondozo. It's going to have a guaranteed turn of sleep, and then 1, 2, or 3 sleep turns will determine when it wakes up.
So that's really big, obviously, for Mattie there, just going straight up for the Spore. Right, I'm just calling Marcus's bluff. Because, yeah, Dondozo, as you say, is not going to do anything this turn. There's no leftovers to stall either. Floodmane can just keep chipping this Dondozo down, and with enough sleep turns, may be able to clinch this out a little bit more so that Tatsugiri is then exposed.
Mattie not taking any risks here, getting the Regenerator health back from the Amoonguss, but also switching in the Incineroar, so that at least on the first turn of the sleep here from this Dondozo, this is the guaranteed one, but the next turn, Mattie is offering some fake-out support, and there is an opportunity for Mattie to maybe get a substitute up before finishing off this Dondozo. I think that could be quite valuable for this endgame, and the Incineroar is helping Mattie achieve that goal.
So yeah, a free fake-out turn here, which is going to be making sure this Dondozo, even if it wakes up to absolutely nothing here, and that's what Mattie goes for, might even make it chip into more of a range for the Moonblast to kind of do a little bit more damage.
Ah, there it is.
Does get the first turn wake, so definitely happy that Fake Out has gone if you are Mattie, and then yeah, a substitute makes a lot of sense here, particularly when combined with a Fake Out turn.
Now this Dondozo is looking pretty unhealthy overall, but the Fluttermane is not going to be able to maintain its substitute for very long. Just an Earthquake would be able to knock out the substitute, probably knock out the Incineroar as well, but Mattie does have their Terrestrialization still available to them, and a Terra Grass on Incineroar defensively looks very, very nice.
Yeah, as Mattie did earlier as well, it was just a really good defensive piece. Obviously punished a little bit by the Chi-Yu later on in the game, but Chi-Yu's now down for Marcus. So it might be that Mattie feels a lot safer now to actually click that Terra Grass button on the Incineroar, which we are seeing.
Terra Grass making sure that it's not going to go down to an Earthquake, making sure that it's not going to go down to a Wave Crash this turn. And this is where Dondozo Tatsugiri actually does look overall pretty strong. The Fluttermane going on the defensive here, just protecting itself, making sure that Mattie can continue doing this pivoting action, almost forced to go for an Earthquake in this situation to try and break down that substitute. That's one of the real values of substitute overall.
It's a really good one too, especially when you've got just protected as well. Knockoff now getting rid of that Rocky Helmet. If there was an Urshifu in the back, it would be very happy, but we know it's not there at all. But most likely now in range of another Moonblast from this Fluttermane, which is a really key piece now.
Ooh. Could be if the Moonblast does pick up the KO. I'm not sure it is. I think it's just out of range, but it might be.
You called the last one a game on. What do you think? Yes or no?
I think no. But if it does, or if there's a critical hit, or something else happens in Mattie's favor, then a knockoff of the safety goggles onto the Tatsugiri in the back could allow this Amoonguss to actually put Mattie in a really nice spot.
That's a great call out, Ben, actually. We'll see if that does indeed happen. It's going to be Dondozo going out first, though. Earthquake is definitely going to get rid of this substitute. Incineroar taking pitiful damage. A little tickle of the feet there from the Earthquake from this massively powerful Dondozo. And here it is. Moonblast. Does it get the KO on this Dondozo? Yes, it does. There it goes. Sorry, Ben. Now this Incineroar is going to come out here with that knockoff and redirect it into the Tatsugiri, doing over 50%. But good call out though, Ben. Safety goggles is gone, and that's a big deal.
Big deal for the Amoonguss in the back. And you know what? I'll take the read loss there if it means that we get to a game 3 if Mattie can pull this back. That's really what the crowd is asking for right now. Yeah, really great Moonblast into a knockoff of the safety goggles. There's a Fluttermane in the back. And Marcus is being very measured in this spot, just taking the time to figure out what he needs to actually do. The Fluttermane on Mattie's side has had its substitute broken, but because it's running Moonblast and Shadow Ball, can only target in one direction at a time.
Yeah, that's a really good call out, actually. We've seen, actually, in previous sets this weekend how lack of Dazzling Gleam can be a little bit of a thorn. But Marcus now has, obviously, the faster Fluttermane, thanks to the boosted energy, boosting speed, instead of the special attack on Mattie's end now. Oh. And that means potentially an Icy Wind plus a move from the Tatsugiri could be enough for the Tatsugiri to actually outspeed the Fluttermane and start going for moves. But those moves are Muddy Water, which is a pretty weak, on average, spread water move, and a Dragon move. And so, actually, if you want to get this Fluttermane KO'd, you kind of need to go on the offensive with Marcus's own Fluttermane in that Moonblast.
And even if you manage to get those calls right on Marcus's side, there is still the question of that Amoonguss in the back. How do you do enough damage if you're Marcus to be able to take that down? Because your options are a not very effective Moonblast or a not very powerful Icy Wind.
But there's the Amoonguss coming straight back in. Makes a lot of sense. It's going to be resisting a lot of the moves that Marcus can go for. Draco Meteor is the main thing that can do the damage into it. Interesting though, Mattie going on the offensive now into that Terra Fairy to really boost up the damage now and see if it can really punch a hole through those Pokemon.
Marcus using that helping hand with the Terra Fairy on their Fluttermane, and that's going to be a potential Moonblast. But Mattie sees the potential of that coming, switching in the redirecting Amoonguss and protecting the Fluttermane there. I think that was one of the windows that Marcus had back into this match but Mattie closed the door on that very, very sharply.
Yeah, very quickly indeed. Maybe if Marcus could have gone for a taunt into the incoming Amoonguss, maybe we get a slightly different kind of game there, because then you could then go for that move in the following turn. But now Amoonguss has the opportunity to go for that Rage Powder, and Rage Powdering away Tatsugiri's attacks, because that safety goggles has now been knocked off.
One of the great things that Marcus has been able to do all set is to just drop a Draco on problematic Pokemon, but you can't do that in front of a Fairy type move. Marcus making the call, going for the Helping Hand Moonblast again, even under the threat of Rage Powder, but it's not enough. It's not enough to pick up the KO on this Fluttermane.
A special attack drop, though, will definitely help things out a bit. And yes, that's now a 3-hit KO on this Fluttermane, but with Sludge Bomb, it's just one. Does it poison, though? No, it doesn't. So Marcus's Fluttermane hangs on with that invisible focus sash and a dream.
And now it looks like an Icy Wind would probably be enough to pick up the KO on this Fluttermane. That keeps Tatsugiri just that little bit safer, but because Tatsugiri has already got its special attack dropped, it's unlikely without a critical hit that it's going to be able to target down that Amoonguss. Here's the Icy Wind connecting on both targets.
But you said it, Ben, that a critical hit can make a difference here if it happens. Fluttermane going down. There's Incineroar on the back, of course, but can make a big difference. Tatsugiri, here we go now. There's the Draco Meteor. It connects, first of all. Amoonguss takes it, and very well.
Wow, Amoonguss holding on, of course, with lots of HP, doing the final bit of damage that it needed to into that Fluttermane to knock it back out. Only Tatsugiri stands in front of this Incineroar and Amoonguss and taking Mattie and Marcus to a game 3. And it's looking like, with a bit of fake-out support, with the ability to target down this Tatsugiri with just even neutral attacks, this Tatsugiri is going to struggle to hold on unless... We've got another unless moment.
We do.
We've got another unless moment. Tatsugiri can use Muddy Water in this spot. It has to connect, which is a little bit sketchy in itself. But if it does connect and does get accuracy drops onto the Amoonguss and onto this Incineroar, this Tatsugiri can survive with nothing but a dream.
It could be very close, yes. It is possible. It's
unlikely.
Possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And Marcus knows it. Playing to his out. So first of all, protecting from the inevitable fake-out turn, that will come out first. And at the end of the day, Mattie just needs to click the moves that do the most damage right now. And that's going to be Knockoff, and it's going to be Sludge Bomb, or even, of course, Spore, because now the safety goggles is gone from the Tatsugiri.
Yeah, makes total sense. You get the Spore, and then you can Sludge Bomb a couple of times and see if you can knock out the Tatsugiri that way. But here it is, the moment of truth coming up here. Will this Tatsugiri be able to connect its Muddy Waters? Will it be able to get those all-important special, important accuracy drops?
Here we go.
Both connect.
That's step one. Then you need accuracy drops on both targets. First of all, the critical hit steal. That will also help too. All right, no. Okay. Knockoff comes out into the Tatsugiri. Not enough for KO, but with that Spore, that will definitely seal up this game. And Mattie is going to take us to a game 3.
Yeah, this is incredible. At least Tatsugiri got halfway there. It's always one of those situations where you're sitting there with anything with a Muddy Water and you're thinking, right, the only hope I've got is to get some accuracy drops, and then you just miss one of the Pokemon and you think, well, all right then, Tatsugiri, yeah, let's go next. But you know, you've got to give Marcus a lot of credit to playing to his out, not only in that last turn, but also going again twice in a row for that Helping Hand and Terra Fairy Moonblast into Mattie's Fluttermane. And sometimes I think that's the mark of respect for a trainer, respecting you as well, like, and trying to find that one avenue that you've got. Is like, well, my opponent knows that the redirection is such a big threat. How do I overcome it?
And so Mattie, despite losing Porygon 2 turn 1 in what seemed very decisive, was able to swing that all the way back around into a win. How did he do it, Ben?
Well, it's all about the special attack booster, I think, on the Fluttermane. That was the real difference maker in this match. Just doing that, just enough damage to that Dondozo to allow that safety goggles to be knocked off. And of course, you think back to that Endgame, just having the safety goggles and being able to drop a Draco into the Incineroar in that Endgame would have been really, really valuable. It changes the way that Marcus has to target and play around the threats that Mattie had in the back. So switching out the Urshifu there for Mattie in favor of a Fluttermane that did actually manage to get most of its value out, having that substitute on the set as well to be able to take advantage by a free turn, especially after Mattie was able to cover overall the one-turn wait from the Dondozo.
Yeah, exactly. That was really well played, wasn't it? And just at the end of the day, yeah, sure, Dondozo's got loads of boosts. You don't have to get rid of the boosts necessarily to get rid of the Dondozo when you've got powerful attackers like that Fluttermane and tools like Amoonguss to just completely slow and shut it down as well. The question is, though, does Marcus switch things up at all? And is there any case for the Weezing or the Dragonite?
I think there could be a case in this matchup, certainly for a little bit of a switch-up. But to be honest, I think Marcus is, from what I've seen on stream of Marcus as a player, understands what Pokemon that he needs to bring to the matchup. And both of those games, obviously, game 1 and game 2, definitely could have gone in his favor as well. And I think as a player, knowing your strategy and knowing how you want to approach a certain matchup is just as important as how you play that matchup when it comes down to crunch time.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call, actually. Especially on an Amoonguss team and a try-and-tested team like Mattie's, Marcus is most likely practice this matchup a decent amount here, but maybe not versus a player like Mattie as well. As we get into our final game of our first top 4 match here at the Birmingham Regional Championships, it's Dondozo and Chi-Yu, just like in Game 1, versus the Incineroar and Porygon 2, just like in Game 2 for Mattie.
Just looking like this Porygon 2 is not going to be meeting a double up on this turn 1, but again, Marcus threatening just to switch out straight into the Tatsugiri to get this Dondozo going, just like he did in Game 1, realizing that that was the way that he was most likely to win the matchup overall. What I'm interested in going forwards is whether or not Marcus actually commits the Terra in front of Amoonguss or not. I think that's the real difference maker in this set.
Well, first it's fake out into the Dondozo, which again is a pretty safe target here. And there's the rip with the overheat straight away again, doing a little bit more than it did in the previous match, actually. And that's a really healthy chunk to really pressure down this Porygon 2. But Trick Room now does go up, so Mattie's going to be able to respond in the following turn with a recover if it so wants to do.
This is one of the values of actually just hitting the Porygon 2 turn 1, because putting it in range of being attacked by Dondozo's Wave Crash this turn actually just means that the Porygon, Mattie has to spend time with the Porygon 2 recovering it, pivoting in the Pokemon that can support it, and spending time making sure that Mattie's ball state is recovered rather than attacking down that Dondozo. And all the while the Dondozo gets to say, well, hang on a second, I now get to go on the offensive, put some chip damage on you instead, and whittle down your resources in the Trick Room that you've set up.
Yeah, I like that, actually. But we can see Marcus now really turning up the damage, as I think Tatsugiri might just be coming in here, which makes a lot of sense. You want to reset those stat drops. I mean, not every time, I guess, because obviously Marcus had a fantastic game. Just not doing it at all. So Tatsugiri does come in here, but does Mattie switch out that Incineroar here as well? Unfortunately, it is the Assault Vest, so doesn't have that parting shot option to be able to lower this Dondozo's offensive capabilities. It's unfortunate it's just that U-turn. So unless this Porygon 2 recovers, it might be dropping.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you've got to make a choice if you're Mattie, whether you're going on the offensive or going on the defensive. But it looks like Mattie could have been going on the offensive with Terra flying on the Porygon 2 to try and avoid an Earthquake and then try to target down the Dondozo in this turn. But it is going to be that tried and tested Terra Grass on the Incineroar.
First of all, recover from the Porygon 2 as well, as now the U-turn comes out into what was the Tatsugiri, actually. So Mattie making a bit of a call there that does not pay off. However, Marcus is able to now do the order up thing and getting this fish going with a few more attack boosts, which it definitely needs if it wants to have a chance at KOing this Porygon 2, especially after another recover.
And every attack boost means that Porygon 2 is under more and more threat of being knocked out. One of the interesting situations here could be that this Dondozo manages to get it all the way set up through that Trick Room environment, scattering in some protects just to waste out some of Mattie's turns where he needs to. But if this Dondozo kind of leaves Trick Room with 4 or 5 stages of increased attack, I mean, Mattie's going to have to pull something really serious out the bag to be able to combat it.
Well, Amoonguss is a great bag to have switched in here as U-turn now comes into the Dondozo.
Quality bag.
It's a bag of fun, is Amoonguss, honestly. As Incineroar now is switching out, possibly to the Sprygon 2 here as another kind of sponge of damage. Yeah, there it is, coming straight in there. A Pokemon that loves to sponge up damage and recover it all off again. And once we're in the Trick Room 2, that's going to make a big difference. Order up though first into this Amoonguss. Now the Dondozo is at +4 stages of attacks.
And it's looking very, very threatening. There's only a few more turns of Trick Room remaining. And so Mattie, again, has to really figure out how he's going to take advantage of this Trick Room. And the inability for him to just power control this, whether it be with Parting Shot or Intimidate, is really starting to make itself known in this environment. You can see Marcus hovering over the terrestrialization button on that Dondozo. Is this the game where he commits to a Terra Grass on the Spore that Mattie has so confidently targeted down into this Dondozo in Games 1 and in Game 2?
The odd downside, of course, of going for that Terra Grass means you make yourself weak to the Ice Beam that this Sprygon 2 has and the Sludge Bomb that the Amoonguss has as well. But Marcus is saying, right, I think it's worth it here. You're probably going to Spore as well, and if you do, I'm going to be really happy. And there it is, exactly. A great call from Marcus here, and it's no attacks from this Porygon 2 either, just a recover. Stalling out this Dondozo, but as you said earlier, Ben, you're stalling out a Dondozo that's still trying to boost up. There's now an Earthquake at +4 comes out, doing a really healthy amount of damage.
And this Amoonguss, if it doesn't switch out this turn, a combination of attacks, the Sludge Bomb or the Terra Blast or the Ice Beam coming out from Porygon 2 would need a critical hit to be able to knock out this Dondozo this turn. Marcus doesn't even have to risk that, though. Could just go on the defensive and play Protect. But that does risk the Incineroar coming in for Mattie and offering fake out pressure next turn. So here's what's going to be happening. Amoonguss coming out, recovering some of its HP. Here's the Incineroar coming back in, not lowering the Dondozo's attack at all.
And there's the Tatsugiri's attack getting lowered, but yeah, not going to make too much difference there. As Porygon 2 is getting ready to get another Trick Room up by going for the recover. Yeah. So that into the next turn with Fake Out plus Trick Room looks fairly safe. But Order Up first of all into the Incineroar, but crucially just survives there. Mattie probably thinking a little sigh of relief there as Incineroar is able to kind of get another Fake Out off, but of course will go down to the Rocky Helmet if it does.
I was going to say, it hasn't had its Rocky Helmet knocked off this turn, and if you're Mattie, can you even afford to lose a piece as valuable as Incineroar overall, having that Fake Out pressure for a little bit later? I think maybe you can. The second Trick Room really is very important for Mattie. Here it is, Fake Out into the Dondozo, Rocky Helmet knocking out that Incineroar for its troubles. There's the terrestrialization gone on Mattie's team. A Wave Crash at 5+, probably would have one-hit KO'd the Porygon 2. And so Mattie just can't risk it. Needs to get that Trick Room up, needs to have the Ice Beam and the Sludge Bomb super effective damage into Marcus's Dondozo. But this time round, this Dondozo means business.
Your classic Trick Room sweepers. Porygon 2 and Amoonguss.
Yes.
Love it, exactly. There is Amoonguss there, standing down this Dondozo at +2 special defense and so much attack behind it as well. So you just need to start dishing it out. Like, at this point, Marcus's team is so healthy. That's all the damage that Mattie's so far done.
Yeah, and look, even if you're able to get through the Dondozo this turn, it's really a struggle to be able to get through the Dondozo when it can target a Wave Crash down into the Amoonguss, because now it's a Terra Grass. Not only can it not be put to sleep, but it can't be redirected by the Amoonguss. And so if I was Porygon 2 in this situation, I'd be one scared duck right now.
Sludge Bomb first, though. Does he get the poison? No, not quite. So this Dondozo gets away with it. But Ice Beam is doing plenty of damage right now. Going to put things in range for the following turn. Earthquake, though, coming out. Spread damage. It's going to do a lot. But Amoonguss again hangs on, despite being +5 attack. These Pokemon are just so bulky.
But that damage is really, really important into the Amoonguss. It means that a Heat Wave isn't necessary. You can lock into a Dark Pulse on the Chi-Yu to make sure that you've got a guaranteed attack that's going to be able to target down the Amoonguss. But also, you know, you've got the... you don't have to rely on the Muddy Water or the Draco Meteor from the... Tatsugiri that we know is sitting there waiting to eject itself from the Dondozo's mouth.
And that's the other thing to look out for here is that Mattie then KOs this Dondozo with Sludge Bomb. Now Porygon 2's attack is going to get redirected into the Tatsugiri, and if that's a Terra Blast or an Ice Beam, that's going to be a really good chunk of damage, because particularly there is a +1 special attack boost actually on this Porygon 2. Here comes this big damage.
Yeah, Terra Blast doing more than 50%, and that's really important for this endgame. More than 50% means that another Terra Blast would be able to knock it out, and that's something that Marcus has to be really aware of in this board state. This was the downside overall of the Terra Grass. I think this is why Marcus in games 1 and 2 was a bit reluctant to click that button. More important for, even if you're asleep for a few turns, that your Dondozo doesn't go down before Trick Room expires. And in this case, it did manage to get through a Trick Room of its own, but 2 was just a little bit too much of a task.
Yeah, I think so, unfortunately. It can only cling on for so long. It is just one Pokemon at the end of the day, but Tatsugiri, his little buddy, is out here to help get some revenge. Now, interestingly, the Chi-Yu is on the field, which means the Beads of Ruining is activated, and that could mean that this Tatsugiri might even just go down to a Sludge Bomb, given the lower special defense that is coming out.
But this is the call now, because you'd like to think that Mattie's thinking, hey, my opponent is probably going to protect himself from a Terra Blast and maybe a Spore onto the Chi-Yu. So is this the time to maybe switch the Amoonguss out into, if it is in the back, Fluttermane, to get that on the field when the Trick Room expires? But also, is this the opportunity to recover Porygon 2? If any of those answers are yes, and Marcus calls it and just goes on the offensive like he has for the early parts of this set, then again, Mattie could be in trouble.
So here we go. Amoonguss switching out, getting a little bit more health there. Makes a lot of sense. You want the Amoonguss really healthy because there are a few attacks it could now survive, given the extra health it has. Fluttermane coming in, though, under Trick Room, which is really interesting as the Photosynthesis now is activating, giving it that special attack boost. But what has Marcus done to respond to this? It's going to be a helping hand. It's that Chi-Yu. We've seen how much damage this Chi-Yu does without a helping hand. And the recover on this Porygon 2 might be what it needs to kind of get out of range of an attack we've seen so much damage it do. There's the overheat into the Fluttermane, getting a one-hit KO!
What? One-hit KO on that Fluttermane. It's going down, it's going home. Marcus looks like he's sending Mattie home as well here, because that Amoonguss is going to be coming in. It can't terrestrialize away from its weakness to fire. Now Marcus has 2 Pokemon out on the field, a third in the back that is yet unrevealed against Mattie's last remaining vestiges of hope.
I mean, it's the last turn of Trick Room, and you could have just double protected. It would have been so easy. So easy. But no, instead, you've got the passive play from Mattie kind of predicting that some sort of defensive play there, some switching around to kind of stall more of those turns. But no, Marcus capitalizes, seeing a window of opportunity, and a Fluttermane that did so much work last game is gone.
I mean, this is not straightforward still. The Amoonguss can protect on this turn, can set up another Trick Room, and that would allow the Porygon 2 to be able to knock out this Tatsugiri and put the other Pokemon to sleep, the Chi-Yu. But Dark Pulse has the opportunity to flinch. There is potential accuracy drops from this Muddy Water. None of them come through. Trick Room, and you said it earlier, David, our Trick Room sweepers are in prime position right now.
They definitely are, and that is what Mattie has desperately needed to get back in here. Now, the Tatsugiri still has the safety goggles on, as you can see here. Thank you very much, Marcus. But there's still not much stopping a Spore just targeting into the Chi-Yu slot on Amoonguss' end, and Porygon 2 just going on the damage to maybe KO the Tatsugiri instead.
But there is ways for Marcus to be able to get around this, because Mattie has committed to the terrestrialization onto the Incineroar previously. This Terra Blast is going to be a normal type move. Fluttermane being in the back, maybe that's going to be a target of the Spore, but it's going to be very difficult for Mattie to quickly dispatch of it while that Trick Room is in play.
That's true, it's got very big special defense, so there is that Spore into the Fluttermane slot, shooting to come in, and next turn, it's not going to be able to do anything. There's the Terra Blast also into that slot as well, actually, and Marcus not going to protect, going to take a Meteor instead, and the Amoonguss goes down instantly.
What an amazing call. Marcus has just been in his opponent's head all tournament long. This is definitely a team that's greater than the sum of its parts, especially when Marcus is at the helm.
But Ben, it's Porygon 2 though. I feel like it's in Trick Room. It can still recover. Like, it could still do the business. It's got 4 PP left on that recover as well, really crucially. It could still, in theory, stall this game out.
It's going to be so close, David. It's going to be so close. But I think the combination of the Chi-Yu and Fluttermane could take this over. Wow, that Ice Beam actually did quite a lot of damage. Right, Muddy Water coming out, single target into the Porygon 2 after the special attack drops. Not going to be doing too much damage, but crucially, no accuracy drops to speak of.
No, not yet anyway. There needs to be a recover here, yeah, from Mattie's end. Just going to stall things out. Mattie
3 left.
Few more turns of sleep on this Fluttermane, which could potentially wake up next turn. Muddy Water coming out is doing minimal damage. Still no accuracy drop and still no wake up on this Fluttermane either.
Yeah, this is getting really down to the wire. There's not many turns of Trick Room left. Of course, Fluttermane does have the ability to go for a taunt and shut down both Trick Room, but also the recover as well. So the tools are in both players' courts, but it comes down to, does this Fluttermane wake up in time? And also, equally, does the Chi-Yu in the back manage to hit its mark? The Ice Beam not KOing the Tatsugiri. Another Muddy Water, another chance for an accuracy drop, but not coming through. Taunt, however, is Fluttermane finally waking up and stopping this Porygon 2 recovering.
That is really big now. Not only Tatsugiri surviving, but Fluttermane also coming out of the turn relatively unscathed and taunting this Porygon 2, which could otherwise have stalled out this game.
GU comes in to activate its Beads of Ruin ability. That's going to power up the Moonblast on Marcus's side and do that little bit more damage. Porygon 2 can only target one Pokemon at a time.
And with the Beads of Ruin, that Moonblast is now looking like another one will be enough to KO. Porygon 2 going for that Ice Beam into the Fluttermane. It's not going to be enough for a KO either.
And it looks like it's 2 against 1. Accurate moves in Moonblast and Dark Pulse can clean this up for Marcus.
It does very much look like it. Moonblast from the Fluttermane into Porygon 2. That's going to seal it. Marcus Go is heading to the final of the Birmingham Regional Championships.
What an amazing, amazing game. And if I had a motto to come out of that game, it's just send it.